Well, again, I just want to thank all of you for being here. It's just a great celebration. The Masters have been here 10 years today. And wow, are we grateful. Just a wonderful blessing. We won't even come close to actually expressing how deep we feel, but I do have a few folks that would like to come up and just say a few things. So I've asked a few to come up, and then there's just a stretch of time if anyone else has another heart to come up and just express the blessing that this family's been to us. And since I'm standing here, I'll just say one thing. I think that the first wedding ceremony that Marshall performed was with me and my bride. Reasons to be grateful as well. So, Christy put up with me, so. Yeah, oh, Christy forgave him. Thank you, Dave Swanson. Okay, so, with Marilyn Jenkins, please come on up. There she is.
Congregation are related to me, so I'm very thankful. As you know, Elmer and I were the first to serve here at the Lakeside Church. Elmer had served up in Rockaway, but I had never been a minister's wife, so this was my first experience. But Lakeside being our first congregation, it has always held a special place in our hearts. And I just want you to know, Elmer and I both have been so appreciative of the work you two have done here. And I don't know why that okay. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, we've just seen the work that both of you have done, and we're just very appreciative. The next thing I want to say, I don't know if I'll get through it or not, but I'm going to give it a try. On the day that Elmer died, Marshall saw the ambulance go up, and he came running up to the house. And I was in shock. And he notified my kids, even Suzanne up in Oregon, that things didn't look good for Elmer. I couldn't have done that. When they took him away in the ambulance, and Sandy put me in the car with her, and we drove over to Grossmont Hospital. Marshall was there by the ER, said, "Go on in, I'll park the car." I just thank you so much for that. Just really appreciate these two folks.
For those of you that know me, I do that on occasion, get a little teary-eyed. Wow. 10 years. Thank you so very much. The whole Master family, it's just been a pleasure growing in my faith and having you lead that. Wow. Baptizing me, baptizing my boy, and can't say how much that means. I really can't. This is my family. We don't have family out here. Y'all are the family I have. He's like Papa Bear there. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Mrs. Master. Thank you, girls. Love to watch you grow too.
I also have the pleasure, I can just keep dropping stuff. I also have the pleasure of saying a few words. And really what Marilyn said in her story really resonated with just exactly who Marshall is and the type of person he's been. Now, I've only known him for almost a little over 2 years now through interview process and being part of the family here. But this last 2 years of my life haven't always been the easiest. And just knowing that I have a person, that we have a leader per se, to go to and to be open with. Times of just crying and just upset and just, I knew I could lean on him. And I knew that he would seek the Lord's wisdom and approach it with love and sympathy. That is a man who's after God. Much like he has also tried to cultivate here with all of you, standing up here every Sunday morning, midweek Bible studies, hospital visits, home visits. Marshall, I think I've said this before and he cringes at it, but he's like the perfect pastor. He like everything on the checklist he hits off. And that is a man who is dedicated to the Lord's work. And, you know, for my wife and I know we are grateful to be part of this family. And the fact that I can learn under you ministry, it's been a huge blessing. I hear friends who talk about how their senior pastor just doesn't get it, and ours does. And that's a huge blessing. So.
I couldn't help it. We needed another Jenkins up here. Where's Pete Jenkins at? And I apologize for whatever he's going to share.
Well, wow. Yeah. I'm not doing a Britney Spears song. My name is Pete Jenkins. Most of you know me. And those of you who know me well know that I'm freaking out right now because I can't stand being up here. If I pass out, you know why. But today is pretty special. And oh no. He said, I'm a wolfer, it'll be all right. That's first aid for William's first aid. Anyway. So when I was asked to speak for Marshall, I was like, look at me, I'm already freaking out. I said I would do it if I could do it in the form of a roast. So, you know, when you're doing a roast, it's supposed to be mean and rude and some disgusting jokes thrown in there. And while I'm up here, I have the ability to read your minds. It's only while I'm up here. And they're all thinking, oh no, rude and disgusting jokes in the church. Well, I'm not doing that today, but there will be some bad jokes. So, ladies, keep your elbows tucked in. It's okay if your husband laughs at a bad joke. How many Dallas Cowboys fans does it take to change a light bulb? They don't. They just talk about how good the old one was. But I digress. 10 years ago, when Lakeside Christian Church was first going, you know, I'm shaking like... I can't read it. 10 years ago, when Lakeside Christian Church was first going through the process of hiring Marshall, we had some references to call. And the gentleman I called was his supervisor. He was a door-to-door salesman for home alarm systems. His supervisor just praised him up and down, said he was great, he was our #1 salesman. So, years later, after we hired him, I asked Marshall, what was your secret to be #1 salesman? He said, when he was going door to door, if nobody was home, he would sneak in and leave one of his brochures on the kitchen table. I remember the first couple of Sundays when Marshall's preaching. And when he first started preaching here, he was all over the place. He ran down the pews a couple of times, I mean, down the aisles, and we were like, Would we hire a Pentecostal? What's going on? I mean, he was all over the place. So the leaders got together and were like, how are we going to get Marshall under control? We conspired with the sound crew and came up with the dead. We told him, far over here. We cut his mic. You walk too far over here. It's a dead zone. We cut his mic. It's taken us 10 years to finally rein him into this area right here. Marshall will tell you that he was born and raised in Texas. A Texas man through and through. Has anybody ridden in a vehicle with Marshall driving? Apparently there's no stop signs in Texas. I mean, when he pulls up to a stop sign, he slows down a little bit, but something is lost in translation from Texas to California. I'll tell you another word that doesn't translate well from Texan to Californian, the word partner. In Texas, yeah, you know where I'm going. In Texas, your buddy is your partner. Howdy, partner. Sounds real John Wayne, doesn't it? Out here in California, a man calls another man a partner. It's got a whole new meaning. On more than one occasion, we've been mistaken as a couple. Chili mac over rice is romantic. Come on. Okay, so we've been mistaken as a couple, and it's all his fault. Claudia wanted a grape arbor in her backyard, a place for her grapes to grow and shade. So we're like, okay, let's build it. We go to Home Depot. Employee comes over and asks us, you need any help? Marshall says, well, my partner and I are building a grape arbor. So the Home Depot employee starts giving us this look. And you know the look that I'm not judging you, but you are one ugly couple. So we're on the John Muir Trail, 211 miles of backpacking. We're heading into Yosemite, that's the finish line. We run into a ranger. The ranger says, where are you from? Marshall says to him, my partner and I are on the John Muir Trail. The ranger starts giving us that look. I just had to walk away. Okay, so bring up the picture, please. Aw, cute. Marshall and Claudia will both tell you they moved to Arkansas after they got married. That story is not true. I found out they moved to Arkansas to get married because it's the only state that allows people under 15 years of age to live with their parents. Marshall's mom told me Marshall had to get a permission slip to go on his honeymoon. Now, I need to be perfectly honest with you. Marshall and I have become pretty good friends these last 10 years. You can go to the next slide. Most of you know that we've gone on several backpacking trips together. There he is. We've actually backpacked over 1,400 miles together. Can I get a high five? Now, again, I'm up here, I'm thinking, or you're thinking, because I can read your mind, wouldn't it be great to backpack with Marshall? I could have such deep theological conversations with him, finding out what the meaning of life is, and all this. Well, next slide. This is reality, okay? See that? That's Robbie right there. I'm up at the pass. There's Marshall way down there. I think a cloud was coming, and he just took off. Next picture. Can anybody see that little blue haze right there? That's Marshall. I've got thousands of these pictures. I've got maybe 2 of him close up. Next picture. Okay, you can't even see the black dot that is right in that area. That's Muir Pass. There's Marshall. Oh, right there, the little black dot. I am taking the picture. Yes, sir. It's probably the best arrangement ever. I mean, to be miles, you know, he's never gotten lost, but he's been confused for a day or two. But as soon as I cook up some chili mac and rice, he shows right up. So, one thing about Marshall, he never loses a sense of humor. This little clip video is of Marshall after we went on a torturous hike through the desert. Here we are in the harshest conditions possible. Knowing man. Waiting for Chase to pick us up. We just did 35 miles of the PCT. Marshall, how do you feel?
My feet hurt. I'm happy I'm in the shade right now. Hiking in the desert is a different kind of hiking than we are used to. You know, it's hot when the cactus are wilted. There's a lot of wilted cactus.
Burnt up stuff.
Glad we're sitting down.
I put this one in there to show you how crazy he is. Well, how full of life and adventurous spirit he is. But if you ask Marshall, he'll tell you he is a triathlete. And I think that title is very appropriate, triathlete. I've seen him try to run, try to bike, try to swim. Next slide, please. All right, in all seriousness, I would like to say some nice things about Marshall and Claudia. Does everyone here believe in miracles? Yes, well. Marshall, last Sunday, touched a little bit on his childhood and his teenage years, and we've had an in-depth conversation about that. And I feel it is a miracle that he is a minister for our Lord Jesus Christ. I really do. He's had a lot of obstacles that he overcame, and he's with us here today, and that's awesome. It is evident that God has a hand in guiding Marshall into the ministry, as well as guiding both him and Claudia and the girls here to Lakeside with us. And God has guided them for the greater plan and purpose for Lakeside Christian Church. Marshall, I'm grateful that we're friends and that you're my pastor, and I can't wait to see what God has planned for us in the future. And I forgot, after the triathlete joke, one thing about triathletes is they get medals at the end of a race. And this is a medal for doing the John Muir Trail. You can add that to your list. Steve has got some more stuff to say.
Well, Pete said he was going to do a roast, and I thought, wow, how's that going to fit in what I had planned? But wow, that was awesome. Wow, fantastic. I do want to just share real briefly just some of my experience with Marshall, and then anybody that would like to get up and say a few words, please feel free. That's what I want to tell you right now. Be thinking about it. You know what? I'm going to put him on the spot. Where's Mike Lansdowne? He's going to hate me for saying. I said, Mike, come on up if you feel like you know he's going to. All right, sorry, Mike. Okay, well, I am also so grateful for this whole family, and before Marshall got here, this is a church that I just pushed into and said, this is where I want to be, and then Marshall came along, and I served as a deacon for a small stretch, and he's just been so encouraging the whole time, and there are times where that I'll have this. I'm just at my wit's end. I don't know what to do, and I'll go to him, and I'll go in his office, and I'll say, Marshall, here's what's going on, and he'll just, within 5 minutes, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Oh my gosh, and so I'm just so grateful. He's just so full of wisdom. He loves the Lord. He's gentle. He could have crushed me easy, and he takes care of me. And so, this is the first time in my life where I've gone to a church where the pastor is younger than me, right? And And he's just so wise, and I just love going to him when I have a question, and some difficult blockage that I've got going on. And I'd encourage you guys, if you get in a place like that, he's there. And so that's what he's always been for me. So, is there anyone who would like to come up and say a couple of words? I know that's real scary, but yes, Barb, would you like to come up? Okay, great. Come on up, Barb Pereira.
My family started here about a month before the Masters arrived. They were coming. You had selected them. In fact, we heard the story of how this church had struggled as you selected them and what you had been through before. And we had just brought Sebastian home to our family in February. His adoption would become final in September of 2006. And Marshall has seen my family through several deaths, the last being Bill's. And the beautiful services for each one. My mother-in-law, my father, who loved him dearly. And I was able to have my father here and go through his final months with Marshall. And we were able to honor him with a beautiful service at Fort Rosecrans. But what I am the most thrilled about is the leadership and what Pete just did, and all the laughter that's been in this room really speaks to what I appreciate most about Marshall and Claudia. We can laugh together, we can be human together. Marshall is part of what drew him to my dad and to my husband was that he is a man's man and a man of God at the same time. He will share with you that he's arrogant. He will share with you that he's competitive. He will, at least in our small group, he has made abundantly clear to all of us a leaning towards materialism that he struggles with and competitiveness within his family, with his sister. And it's those things that spoke to Bill and brought Bill back closer to God. He was always a believer, but he was able to see this authenticity. And when Marshall and Claudia approached us about having a small group in our home, I was immediately thrilled. I only get here every other Sunday because of my work. And I wasn't too sure about Bill. I thought I knew how he was leaning. I put down the phone, and I put my hand over the phone in case I didn't get the answer I wanted. I would have figured out how to handle that graciously. But I ran, Bill was standing right there, and I said, Marshall and Claudia have asked if we would sponsor a small group in our home on a weekly basis, and he would lead it. I didn't even have the words completely out of my mouth when he said, absolutely, that's what we built this house for. Was to share it with other people. And he goes, and I can't think of a better way on a weekly basis to share our home than that. And we still do that today. I guess we talked just before Bill died about how it had been 8 years. In fact, his brother-in-law, who was a pastor in the Church of Christ, joked about the fact that he probably had the group there so long because he's such a slow learner. But I want to thank you for the leadership and the attitude of humanness that you have brought into this church, because it has brought my husband back to God and rededicated his life to God before he died, as well as both of my children. And I can't ever thank you enough for that. And I know I'm not the only one that has lived that in this church. So thank you to you and to your kids.
There's a lot of testimonies. I do see a hand going up. Come on up, young man.
I just want to say thank you, the pastors, for teaching the gospel of God in Catholic.
Man, a few words. You can teach Pete a few lessons. I really encourage anyone else that would like to come up. Yes, come on up. Okay, you come on up, and then we'll get you to come on up. Now, just a second.
It's been my experience, folks around you, like in Christ, there was the multitudes, and then when it all went down, everybody just disappeared. in a few areas of my life, a couple of episodes happened, and that was just exactly what happened. In the latest big event in my life, my best friend on planet Earth passed away. And I came in the church and I said, "Is this safe in here?" And he looked at me and I said, "Can I just fall apart?" And he said, "Yes." I think I said, "Can you handle it?" I think those were my words. "Can you handle it?" And he said, "I can handle it." And I fell apart for quite a while. And I don't have words to describe the gratitude, because when I fall apart, it's not fun. I wasn't ridiculed. No embarrassment. I think he put his arm on my back and he said, "Are you done?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm done." I'll never forget that. It takes a mighty big person in my book to hold on to heaven and reach down and touch another human being that is in a not nice place. And for me to get that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you both for that. But I want to say a very, very short word about their children. When families go through service like this, the kids are there. It's not about a choice. And their kids are always so gracious. And that's big. So this is my family. Like it or not, guys, you're stuck with me. Because I'm stuck with you and Marshall, you and Claudia. I'm stuck on you too. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Pastor Claudia and family, and to all of you as church family for your love and your prayers, especially through the crisis we went through with Brandon. Pastor was right away calling when Brandon was life-flighted to the ICU in Bend, and I know we had the communication with Caring Bridge, but I knew we could feel the prayers, and he truly is a miracle. And I want to take him back to Bend, St. Charles, someday. I know he went once, but I want him to go back again. So that really touched our hearts and our lives. Thank you so much. And we've been here, I didn't put it on the calendar, I want to say about 5 years or so. And we came on a Sunday night. We weren't sure where we were going to go to church, and I said, well, why don't we try the church on the corner? They haven't had an evening service back then. And it was back in the cafe, and we sat around the table. And I remember Pastor Marshall was doing a series on David. And I thought that whole series, because that message really touched my heart. And, we were walking back to the car, and our son, who lives in Arizona, he's 25 right now, and he said, I like it a lot better. And, when your teenagers confirm what you're feeling in your heart, we just knew. And I didn't want to. I feel so at home here. And I don't know all of you by name, but I feel the love, and thank you. Thank all of you for that.
Anyone else? Yes. Why don't you both come on up? I'll let you fight over who goes first.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to say publicly how much I appreciate this family. And I'll try not to fall apart. We've been through a lot in the last several years, and, with my husband's health and things, but some of you may or may not know that I have a son who is incarcerated, and Marshall has visited him when he was at county faithfully, and visits him even now when he can, when he's all the way up north, and has been there for him and for us. And I just want him to know how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
As some of you know, David and I have done our own hiking. We've had peaks and valleys, and thank God Marshall and Claudia have been there to help us hike through life. Ozzy, we see him once in a while, but he is, as Pastor Marshall would say, he is the prodigal son. We've been through teenagers, we've been through hardest parts of life that people could possibly even imagine, and you just wonder, what are they thinking? Just courts and schools, just life. And Marshall and Claudia have helped us through countless hours of just trying to figure things out. They moved up the street from us, and Tasha came home thrilled that there were girls on our neighborhood, that she asked, can I go to church with them? Of course, go right ahead. And we came here, I remember Tasha standing right here. It was our first time being in church, and for me, I was raised in church. You don't come in jeans. You came dressed up, and you don't drink anything in the sanctuary. That was never a thing. They were handing coffee to us, and come on in here. It was the Christmas party, and Tasha stood up here and sang Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel. And she has grown so much that she's just an amazing, amazing child. And all of that started for kids to go through what these two kids have gone through. She has kept her head up. She has done great. And all of that is because of all of you guys. Reaching out to people who you don't even know and saying, hi, welcome, come on in. It is amazing. I mean, David has been through, God forgive me, hell and back many times. And it's been a journey, it's been a hike, for sure. But I wouldn't want to do it with any other family ever. And I thank you guys, and I thank you guys so much for the strength and helping us through it all. Tasha graduates in June and just continues to surprise me every day, every day. I know she doesn't come here a lot. She tries, she helps out with Dad, as much as she can. But I can't thank all of you guys enough for the support and just the well wishes and thoughts. Thank everybody very much from the West family. Thank you so much.
Stay up here then. Okay, so I think we're done asking people to come up. But I do have a couple of things. I wanted to mention Melissa Gordon painted a beautiful banner out there. So if you get an opportunity, oh, that's right. So it's a beautiful banner. Please enjoy that. And there's a basket out there, and there's cards and envelopes, so that if you want to jot down a little note, please do it. And there's a little basket just to throw it in. Be right with you. Okay. So Clark, Pond, and Brenda, they couldn't be here. They're out of town. And so I wanted Clark to have a part of this. And so he went and he got this great plaque, and I'd just like to read it. And it says, to Pastor Marshall Masser and his family, Claudia, Sydney, and London, in grateful appreciation of 10 years of dedicated and loving service to the congregation of Lakeside Christian Church. Then it finishes off with a scripture. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving as overseers, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not greedy for money, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. 1 Peter 5, 2 and 3, May 1st, 2016. That's for you. So hold this. It's ticking, so don't hold it too close. Okay, so I just want to read this, and just some blessing that we want to offer the Massers on behalf of the entire congregation. Okay? Thank you, Masser family, for 10 years of tireless commitment to the congregation of Lakeside Christian Church. We would like to present you with a gift to show our appreciation. As residents of Southern California, we're so blessed to be surrounded by the beauty of God's creation. You can get a front row seat to this majesty on the beautiful island of Catalina. We hope your family will relax and enjoy a weekend in Catalina and make memories for years to come. So what's inside here will allow that to happen. So, I don't know what you're going to share, but whenever you're done, Dave Swanson's going to close us in prayer, and then we're going to go out into the breezeway and enjoy the rest of it.
I'm not going to share much. I just want to tell all of you this story because you might not all know the story. And then I want you to know something that I say all the time, and some of you have heard me say it to you, and it's because it's what I really believe. So 10 years ago, it was really 11 years ago, my wife and I were in Arkansas, and we were in a church that was doing really well. It was a church that we had planted, but neither one of us felt like it was the church that we were going to be at for a long time, and we wanted to go somewhere where we could be for decades. And so we began to pray about that. And a really important man in my life, a mentor in my life, I asked him to pray about it. I said, would you pray about this for me? And he said, you would. And the next day after I asked him that, he sent me an email and said, hey, I just found out about this church in Southern California. He's in the ministry. So I just found out about this church in San Diego, and I don't know why, but maybe because you just asked me yesterday to pray about it, I just thought I'd pass it along to you. So it was this church. So I sent my resume here, and I called to make sure they had gotten my resume, and that was in January of 2006. And I started, doing what you do. I started looking up the church online and Googling the area, and I just fell in love with it. I had never been here before, and they didn't ever call me back. And so there was another, so I sent resumes to some other places because we did feel like God was calling us to go somewhere else, but we didn't know where. And so this other church, we won't talk about that, it was a good church, but this other church called us to come and to try out there. And I was sitting in my office on a Wednesday morning, I can still remember it very clearly, and I was reading my Bible, and that day I just happened to be reading in the Psalms. And it's a psalm where David says that the Lord will give you the desires of your heart. And I closed my Bible, and I literally prayed a prayer that went something like this. I said, God, I got this other church that's calling me, and they're making arrangements for me to come and for me to preach. And I can't stop thinking about this church in Lakeside, California that has never called me back. And I don't know why that church has made it into my heart, because that's really what had happened, is this church had made it into my heart. I'd never been here, they never called me back. And I said, and this other church is calling me, and I think it might be a good fit. And so I just prayed this simple prayer, God, you got to get that church out of my heart so that I have room for this other church. And it was right about that time that my phone rang, and it was an elder from this congregation. that said, we'd like to interview you for this position. And so I knew that God had his hand on bringing my wife and our 2 girls and I here. But that didn't mean that I was definitely coming. I wasn't from here, and I'm a little different. But when my wife and I came, and we spent a week here, that was our request. In my family, we have a little saying that says, fish and friends smell the same after 3 days. And so I told the elders that I wanted to come here for a week because I wanted to know the church and the community, and I wanted the church to know me. And when we left, we knew that this was a great church. It had a heart of gold. It has a heart of gold. And after 10 years, we hope it's still a great church. We still hope it has a heart of gold still. But it's a place where we're delighted to be pastors and to raise our kids. And we just love this place. So thank you very much for making it a place where it's a great place to work. Thank you.
Pastor Dave, why don't you lead us out?
Let's pray. Father, we are grateful for milestones like this, where we can celebrate what you've done, and for some, be able to look back over a long stretch of time. And for us, 10 years is a long time. We know it's not for you, but for us, we see lots of things in our life come and go. Lots of good things, lots of not so good things, maybe even some really, really hard things. And it's really something when we see faithfulness. Lord, we're grateful for you and your eternal faithfulness, but it's awesome to see faithfulness in a brother and sister in Christ, and we're so grateful for Marshall and Claudia's faithfulness, so grateful for their whole family, that you bring him here and his faithful service to us, and his leadership and his endurance and his strength to be your man here. We know there's blessings that we've benefited from because of that, and we're grateful. We celebrate that today. We look forward to how you're going to use him and his family in the future. Lord, we do ask for protection, and you put a hedge of protection around him, Lord, protecting his family, his marriage, his health, and his finances. Lord, we pray you bless him in every way, that he can be free to serve you for many, many more years to come. We just take the time to celebrate today, and grateful for you and for sending him here and his family, and we want to honor you and thank you for what you've done in our church. In Jesus' awesome name. Amen. Amen.